Okay, I'm going to read to you something that I wrote in 2008 or 2009. It's called The Middle School Wrestling Team. In 8th grade, there was this kid, Chester. Him and his friends would punch me, they would grab my nipples, things like that. My parents discovered bruises on my arms, and after interrogating me for some time, I confessed there was this kid, Chester, who was bullying me. Chester and his friends got suspended. After that, he started to verbally taunt me, calling me a backstabber, a tattletale, and things like that. I was not the athletic type, and I sucked at most school sports. But my parents thought joining the wrestling team would be great for my self-esteem. So they called Coach Jack Bennett, the middle school gym coach. They had a long conversation with him, and it ended with me joining the wrestling team. In my opinion, Bennett was out of his mind. He was a jock, and he didn't sympathize with people who were not athletic. And I suspect he might have even been homosexual because, although he was supposedly married, you could tell he was a little too into sports and, the males that were playing sports. He would constantly say, "I love you, babe," or "I dig you deep," or he'd wink at you. He was a little too interested in sports kids. So, I kind of flew under his radar. Well, I did until I joined the wrestling team. Well, I went to gym class the following day, and Bennett kept saying to me all class long things like, "Impressive," "Nice move," and "You're a natural." So even though I wanted in the worst way to get on the bus and go home that evening, I was almost obligated to go to wrestling practice. So after school, I reluctantly walked into the wrestling room. I stood there, I didn't know anyone, and I was like the odd man out. I was horrified when I saw Chester walk in. Then Bennett came in and he talked to Chester. He was like, "Chester, are you ready to kick some ass?" Chester was the star of the team. Bennett gave a speech to the entire team. Then Bennett pulled me aside and he said, "Look at Chester over there. He doesn't need this sport. Wrestling is for kids like you. You need wrestling." Not only was Bennett putting over the kid I disliked, he was putting me down. It was horrible. When I got home, my mom was all excited and asked me, "How did wrestling go?" And I said, "Good." I didn't have the heart to tell my mom wrestling sucked and Chester was there. So I said my first day was not so bad. And I said, all we did on the first day was learn some moves, and I was thinking, I can tolerate this, I can go back again. My wrestling career lasted a total of 2 days. On the second day, we began to have matches. I lost every single match. No exaggeration. Even the nerdy, smelly kid pinned me. I kinda let them win, because I had no motivation to be there. The only thing I looked forward to was the water breaks mid-practice. I wrestled this fat kid who smelled like onions. He was all sweaty, and his body sweat was getting all over me. I was like so disgusted, I felt like puking. I didn't want to put my hands on him or didn't want to touch him, so I quickly let him win because if I resisted, he would get even more of his sweat on me. All I could think for the rest of the practice was I smelled like onions and I wanted to go home in the worst way. Everyone was pinning me. It was embarrassing and pathetic. My wrestling career was over. I was quitting after the second day. Coach Jack Bennett wanted to motivate me, so I would come, even though I was planning on quitting wrestling, Coach Jack Bennett wanted to motivate me so I would come back. So right before practice officially wrapped up, Bennett said to me things like, "You better watch out for Andrew. He's one hell of a wrestler." Then before we went upstairs, he addressed the whole team giving a boring speech. And at the end of the rah-rah speech, he singled me out and said, "Let's have a round of applause for Andrew." The entire team clapped. It made me cringe. I saw through the lies. He didn't compliment the talented wrestlers on the team. The compliments were phrased in a way that it gave me the "I get it, I suck" feeling. Then on the bus ride home, some jerk said, "Look at this kid, he's jacked." People on the bus laughed. I think if anything, wrestling lowered my self-esteem. A few days passed. I stopped going to practice altogether. Bennett came up to me during lunch and said, "You're missing a lot of practice. You're still a part of the team, right?" Obviously, I didn't have the guts to tell Bennett no, so I said I would show up again, but I didn't. Bennett began making fun of me in gym class, saying things like, "Andrew, does he even come to class anymore?" when taking attendance. But I didn't care. I would never be part of that team again. Months passed, and Bennett still couldn't take the fact that I quit his team. And he couldn't take the fact that I wasn't coming back. So during a midterm, he storms up to me and says, "Sorry to interrupt, but what's going on with wrestling?" I said, "I don't know," giving him the ultimate blow-off. He tried threatening me by saying, "You know, one day I'm going to call your parents and you'll come back to the team." I laughed on the inside at that because, although he has no idea, I already explained to my parents that I was done with wrestling.